Today I'm with Kim Babb, and she is the director of an upcoming play that Kordazone Theatre is putting out called The Woman in Black. And this is an old school play from England.
It is. It was actually written in 1983, so it's a little bit more modern, but it has that sort of gothic Victorian vibe to it, so it's meant to be in that tradition.
I had never heard of this play.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little breakdown of it?
Sure. So this story, and I think most people, when they think of The Woman in Black, they think of the movie, because there was a movie in 2012 that starred Daniel Radcliffe of Harry Potter fame. But it's a story about Arthur Kipps, played by Daniel Radcliffe, and he is sort of a young lawyer trying to prove himself in the lawyering world, and his employer asked him to go settle the final affairs of a Mrs. Alice Drablow, who lives in kind of the north, I think it's like the northeast. It's sort of vague where she lives, but the final affairs of Mrs. Alice Drablow, who just recently passed away. So he travels up there, and through interacting with some of the locals, he finds out that there's this legend of the Woman in Black. And without giving away too many spoilers, we find out that when people see the Woman in Black, bad things happen.
Ooh.
And so he was the target of this, this legend, or the Woman in Black and her curse. So it's sort of a very creepy, kind of spooky story.
It's almost like a little take on that Halloween thing where you turn the lights off and look in the mirror. And
exactly, yeah.
Ooh. So
it's like, if you see her, just be aware, because something bad is going to happen. The play itself, though, is kind of a different animal, because we do learn about the story of the Woman in Black, but it is sort of a play within a play. So it's set actually a few decades later after the story of Woman in Black. And it's an older Kipps who has been dealing with the trauma of his experience with the Woman in Black. And he finally feels like it's time to tell the story. It's time to purge himself of this trauma. And so he writes a script, and he hires a young actor to teach him how to perform the script. And so what we're seeing in the play is we're seeing the rehearsal and the process of telling the story. So we do learn about the story, but from this perspective of them rehearsing for a play about it. So
okay,
it's
that's really cool.
Yeah,
a play and a play and a play.
Exactly.
I'm just reading here. What Joey had sent me, and this is a Christmas Eve type tale.
Exactly. So there's a tradition in the UK where families would kind of gather around the hearth, and they would tell ghost stories on Christmas Eve, and that was the thing that they did. And I had no idea. I know this was news to me, and I kind of went down a rabbit hole. I learned about this through a podcast that's a horror movie podcast, because I'm a big horror movie fan.
Which one? Because I want to listen to it now.
It's called Evolution of Horror, and it kind of goes through each genre of horror movie, and you kind of go from what's the earliest movies of each one of the genres, and part of the experience is that they have guests come in, and the guests will kind of talk about, sometimes they'll be experts on the particular movie or whatever, and some of those guests are actors, so they've been in the movie, but then a lot of them also do plays. So that's kind of how I stumbled upon this, and apparently The Woman in Black is one of the stories that people would tell around the fireside on Christmas Eve, and then it was sort of translated into this play, and I was like, sign me up, I want to do this one.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
And I'm looking here, I mean, this show is fascinating, and I can't believe I hadn't heard of it until you guys contacted me. But this played for 33 years in the West End of England?
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
it was the second longest running play, second to The Mousetrap, which is Agatha Christie. But it was so popular because, it's not just telling the story. There's some spooky moments too. And I think people love that. They love kind of the immersive experience of being there. So it was very, very popular. And it closed down during the pandemic for obvious reasons. And then when the pandemic ended and people were able to get back into the theaters, I think it just wasn't financially viable or for whatever reason, and they had to close. So I think it was 2023. So it was only recently that they closed.
Yeah, in March of 2023.
Yeah.
So this was also a novel?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, by Susan Hill. So yeah, that's how it all started. That was the story that this is all based on.
Okay, now I have to go see it because I have so many questions and I don't want to give away anything on it, but it's like, okay, do things still happen after? And there's just...
You'll have to go to find out.
Exactly. Well, you never know, especially with the horror or the thriller ones. Especially then you add in Christmas to it as well. So how big is the cast?
So it's actually 3 people big. So it's it's a very small cast. There's the Kips, and it's interesting the way that it's billed because the older Kips is called the actor, and even though he's not technically an actor, he's supposed to be a lawyer. And then the younger person is called Kips. And the reason for this is because as they're rehearsing, they realize the best way to sort of cast this play that they're doing is to have the younger actor be Kips, and then the actor plays all of the other characters. So this really kind of it's very challenging. The actor that I have playing the actor, Dean Valentino, he has to put on, I think, something like 6 or 7 different characters, and he has to make them very distinct because they all play a role in the story. But that's so it's mainly 2 characters. We kind of generally call it a 2-hander, but there is of course a third, and you guessed it, it's the woman in black. So she does appear. So if you're curious, she does appear in the show.
I was gonna ask who's playing the woman in black.
So the woman in black is played by Georgie Savoy, and
Georgie.
You know Georgie, yeah.
She's a phenomenal actress.
She is, and she's so good at like movement, which is one of the reasons why I cast her, because she just kind of embodies that ghostly kind of movement in her, the way she walks and moves around. So yeah.
And who is playing the younger? Who's playing Kip?
Yeah, so Kips is being played by Larissa Dawn, and Larissa is sort of new to Korda, which is really exciting because they've been trained through the MFA program at the university, and this is their first. Well, actually, no, technically it's not, because they ended up joining the Midsummer Night's Dreamcast in the process of rehearsing for this show. But it's kind of exciting to have somebody new in the Korda family.
It's always nice to have new people in and watching them fit and mesh with the seasoned. They learn so much that way.
Absolutely.
I mean, you can learn so much in school, but you need to be on the stage or in front of the camera in order to really get the feel for it.
Yeah. And they're a seasoned actor. They've done many shows, so it's very professional from the moment that I saw them audition for the show. So they do a really good job.
Great.
Yeah.
That's very exciting. Yeah. And when is this play going to take place?
So October 17th, which is a week.
Next week?
Yeah, it's next week on Friday. So today's Saturday. So so a week or less. We're within the week. Very exciting. So yeah, we're heading into Tech Week. We have our first Tech Week rehearsal today, actually.
Oh my goodness. So right after here? Or?
A little bit later in the evening. I get a little bit of a break, but but yes, and in between I'm doing lots of notes and prop stuff, and we're spray painting some lanterns today, so it's going to be a busy day.
Well, it's going to be fun to see the set because Korda, you guys always do a really quirky sets, and I love it because it's not a huge stage.
No.
And how you guys use the space is always so much fun. Yeah,
it's really creative, some of the ways that the different directors use the stage. We are actually doing something a little bit different for Korda. We're using both levels, so the bottom part and then the upper balcony area, and we're using it as kind of a like an upper level of a house, and to kind of convey sort of scenes that happened in the past, we have a scrim. So we don't often use scrims at Korda, but it's allowing us to do some really neat effects of, you can't see past it, and then you shine some lights on it so that you can kind of see what's behind it, and there are various scenes that take place, and discovering, the rooms and whatnot when Kipps is exploring the house and things like that. So
how many different sets are there?
For this one, it's a static set. But what's interesting is that because this is sort of a rehearsal, you're kind of using what's there. So it's supposed to be a set that is sort of in between productions. So the older Kipps, or the actor, has hired or has rented this theater, and so presumably they're in between productions. And so there's the walls are half painted, and there's flats up against the wall, and there's a trunk and some mismatched furniture, and they all use that in creative ways. So the trunk serves as a desk, and it serves as a cart, like a pony in a cart. So it has a lot of different functions. So it takes place in different settings, but we're using the same set to kind of create that world.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
It is.
A lot of fun. I always liked, for the Three Musketeers at Korda, and just the way your backstage people will come in and move things around, and they even have a flow about them that unless you're looking, you don't even notice it happening. They just kind of flow with the actors, and I really think that's an interesting take on, instead of closing for a minute and then all of a sudden there's a new one, which a lot of places will do that way. They
like to kind of keep the mystery by kind of saying, now we're going to close it. Now here's the new scene. But yeah, we like to kind of integrate, and oftentimes we have some of the backstage people dressed as characters. And so that's always fun. I always like that way of doing things, right? Because it integrates, this is a character, and it's totally natural that they're moving this set piece over here, right? So yes.
Now, what made you choose The Woman in Black as your production?
Yeah, several reasons. One is that I'm a lifelong horror movie fan. I just love horror, and with this discovery of here are all these horror plays. I got very excited about. I have my little list of plays that I want to do in the future, and this particular one appealed to me for several reasons. One, practical. Having a small cast is a nice thing to kind of start, because this is actually my directorial debut at Korda. So I thought, okay, let's get used to learning how to direct at Korda, and having a small cast is a nice way, because then you can kind of, if the stage isn't available, you can rehearse somewhere else and things like that. But really, the reason I was sort of drawn to this one is because there's a lot of themes that I really like as part of the story. There's some feminist themes. There's some broader horror movie themes. So one of the things that I always talk about when I talk about my love of horror movies, and we had a conversation about this at the beginning of our rehearsals, is that I believe horror movies, they really help us develop our empathy skills. They really help us kind of see different perspectives and put ourselves into these situations that are often horrific, but that allows you to sort of kind of see perspective from people that have been through oftentimes very traumatic situations. And also, horror movies are allegories for things like grief and oppression. And so, without giving away too many details about this one, there's some elements of this that I think kind of reveal a lot about, growing up at that time in the sort of the late 1800s, early 1900s, what it was like for a woman at that time, and some of the oppression and some of the decisions that were made for her. And so you get into this sort of who are the real monsters kind of thing, right? And
what caused her to give back for so many years.
Exactly. So what created the monster that we now see, kind of thing. So I think that's what
it's
kind of
probably a guy.
or sometimes many people. So
This is true.
yeah.
Family.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that's kind of what drew me to this particular play.
It sounds like a really good first play to really knock it out. What other ones are on your list? Or what would be your most, let's say, the biggest production you would like to put on?
The biggest production? Oh gosh. Probably, honestly, I've always wanted to direct Little Shop of Horrors, which is not quite super scary horror movie, but it's my favorite musical of all time, and it is a horror, comedy horror musical. That would be probably the biggest one, but a lot of the plays that are on my list are very small. They're usually 2 or 3 handers. So I would say that probably if I do direct other sort of straight plays, non-musical plays, they'll probably be a little bit more on the small scale.
Have you directed before, Korda?
I have, but many, many years ago. It was just a one-act play. It was originally written one-act play, and it wasn't for any theater here. It was for when I was living in California. So, yeah.
You lived in California.
I did, yes. I grew up in California.
Why Windsor? I love Windsor.
And I do too. It's such a neat place to live. But so the reason I came here is for my job. I'm a professor at the university, so that was why I came here. And I also had my family lived in Michigan, so it was nice because it was a win-win. I got a job, and then I also lived close by to my family.
And it's nice being border.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Do you get back to California much?
I don't often, and not as much as I want to, but in recent years I have. I actually have been going to a music festival out there it happens in May, kind of late May. So we've been going there not every year, but every year or two. So I do get out there, but it's usually only for a week at a time. So it feels like it's not enough.
No.
Yeah.
It's never enough.
Exactly.
I know different plays, you're allowed to change things up to make it your own. What liberties were you able to take with Woman in Black?
A very good question. There's definitely some things I've done differently with the script. Part of it was just the stage itself. So where I've staged things, because the staging of it is different than the original production. So I like to use both levels, whereas the stage in the original production was just on the floor. So I've had to, there's some scenes where the actor, Kips, would go back and forth between 2 places on the floor, but where I have them, they're upstairs. So it's like, I'm not going to have them come down here and then go back up. So I've done things like that. There's a couple of ways that I've taken some liberties. One notable way I've deviated from the script is I've given the woman in black a voice, literally. And there is, in the script, there is a voiceover of the woman in black, so that's scripted. But there's other moments where she is able to vocalize, and that isn't in the script. And I do understand that, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I feel like, and not just a voice in the sense that she's saying something, but that she has more intention in her actions. So, in the original script, she's definitely, kind of a malevolent, ghostly figure. But I have her do some things that are a little bit more, that they initiate things, that they are a little bit more, I don't want to say aggressive, but more, she engages more, I think, with Kips than is in the script. And I do that because I want her to get the power that she didn't have in her life.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
It's a strong woman coming from a time when she was oppressed, and now she has the power.
Yeah.
She should have a voice. She should be able to say her piece and have people take notice.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be so much fun. And I'm going to look on here because we have a bunch of different shows. And as Kim had said, it does start Friday, October 17th, 2025, 8 p.m. That is opening night at Kordazone Theatre, which is on Seminole Road if you're in Windsor, Ontario. But they also have matinees on the Saturday and Sunday. The Thursday, I always like their Thursdays. October 23rd is Pay What You Can night, because not everybody can afford to pay for tickets. So you give what you can, if you can, and you still get to enjoy the night there. And then also the following Thursday, October 30th, is scent free night. So these are for people, I always say, that have allergies or are just hypersensitive to different scents. Nobody wears any scents, and it's you can enjoy it. So I like the fact that you guys have them for a few weeks, and that way there's always time to enjoy it. And then I see closing night is November 1st.
Yes, yeah. So just after almost at Thanksgiving, just after Halloween.
And there is a Halloween showing. What
There
better
is.
night to go to see this performance?
Of course, yeah. After all the kidlets have come and taken all your candy, come on over to Korda and come see a spooky play.
It's going to be fun. And
Yes.
how can they get tickets?
So they can get tickets on ShowPass. Of course, I forgot to memorize the address, but it's showpass.com. And you go to the Kordazone.com website and you can get all of the information. But ShowPass is our ticket, online ticket system. But then also we have tickets at the door, and you can pay by cash or debit at the door.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm really excited to see this play.
Well, I'm excited to see you see the play.
And there's enough times here that I definitely can get to it.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you
Excellent.
so much for being here. I do appreciate you, and I appreciate Kordazone always putting out the best productions.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I think so too.
And again, my name is Tracy Martins. This is YQG and Bloom podcast in Windsor, Essex County. Make sure that you follow Korda Artistic Productions on social media, and you will be able to link in their bio to get passes to the Women in Black. You guys have a great day.